According to the National Institute of Mental Health, there should be about 40 psychiatric inpatient beds for every 100,000 people. In Kansas, there are just 15 and a half. Missouri's even worse at 14.4. The family you're about to meet says that means you're either denied altogether or put on a sometimes week-long wait list. Once you do get in, they say you're often released early to free up space.
I can dance, I can sing.
Happiness radiates from Emma Lenguist in this video.
I can do a lot of things, and the most important thing is I can put a smile on someone's face when they're down.
She was 18 at the time, full of hopes and dreams.
Her dream was to one day marry a man who would have a huge farm where she could have 100 dogs. And I was like, well, who's the man? She goes, it doesn't matter.
But behind that sense of humor and infectious smile, there's another part of Emma.
Behavioral health you really can't see.
Chris Lengquist says that's where the problem lies. He and his wife Marie adopted Emma and her brother when they were 4 years old. They knew Emma had cerebral palsy.
Emma made me a better person and a better father.
Here she comes.
They didn't know years down the road, a mental illness would have her fighting to survive. Borderline personality disorder. Despite multiple suicide attempts starting around age 18, her diagnosis coupled with the lack of beds made it hard to get treatment. The Lengquists say they were denied left and right.
1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 locally, and we were reaching out all across the nation.
Yeah.
Miami, Florida, Chicago,
Phoenix,
Tempe, and Phoenix, and there's several places in California.
When Emma did get help at a facility in Topeka, it was hard to keep her there.
The last hospitalization, I got the call that Monday morning saying we're releasing her at noon, and I begged them not to. I said, she can't come home, she's not ready. And they're like, well, she's over 18, she wants to come home, we can't keep her. That was 4 days before.
Just 4 days after being released, Marie stopped by Emma's apartment to give her medication.
Knowing it could happen and seeing it happen are two. It's having the very breath sucked out of you. But I just remember her hands and her lips and grabbing her dog and going out and calling 911. And even then, it didn't hit me until the paramedic came out and said, we can't. There's nothing we can do.
They say the lack of funding and space cost Emma her life. While mental illnesses are hidden, the consequences can be seen clear as day.
It was raining a little bit the day we buried her, too.
Once a week, Chris visits Emma's grave.
I just like to come out and fix the dog that we keep perpetually on her grave. We rotate the dogs every once in a while, check on the flowers, and just basically say hi to her and remember the good times, because there sure were a lot of good times.
On her grave, you see the words she lived by, a few glitches and a lot of smiles.
We're actually like normal people, you know? We just have 1 or 2 glitches, but that doesn't mean that we're any different from anyone else.
When you're around this house, I mean, there's pictures, there's little moments and memories, I'm sure, that come to mind that Emma pops up in your mind.
Yes.
Oh yeah, daily. Her smile. She had the most amazing smile.
It's almost like the memories are frozen in time.
They say what can't stay frozen is the current state of help and treatment for mental health. Other families are in desperate need.
They're not alone. I mean, they are not the only ones walking through this hell of mental illness.
They're calling on lawmakers now to make mental health funding and treatment a priority.
You're 3.5 times more likely, if you have a severe mental health diagnosis, to end up in a Kansas prison than in proper mental health care. 3.5 times more likely. And is it any wonder that most of our prisons are privatized? It is everybody's problem. It's everybody's problem. When you have incidents of shootings and you have incidents of bad behavior, it's costing society.
They hope their efforts to raise awareness in Emma's name will save a life.
She's going to be a picture on a wall. She's forever 20. And there's going to have to, there's going to be a story behind it. It's just sad.
And help the thousands of others like her treat a disease that can't be seen.
I feel blessed and grateful that for 15 years I got to be her dad.
Reporting in Olathe, Kansas, I'm Joe Chiodo.
She was really a special kid.
KCTV 5 News.
Tomorrow, Joe sits down with Governor Laura Kelly for a one-on-one interview asking what she's doing to fix the problem. KCTV 5 first introduced you to the Lengquist family last night at 10. Tonight, Joe Chiodo presses the governor and doctors to see what they're doing to fix the problem.
Why are we not paying attention to this?
That's the plea from a family who didn't find their answer soon enough.
I don't want another mom or dad to walk in and find their child. I don't.
In February 2018, Chris and Marie Lengquist's daughter Emma took her own life.
The paramedic came out and said, we can't. There's nothing we can do.
Most important thing is I can put a smile on someone's face when they're down.
She was really a special kid.
Piper, would you like to join me?
She could just light up a room.
When Emma turned 18, borderline personality disorder had her fighting to survive. But the lack of funding and lack of psychiatric beds is what Chris and Marie say took her life.
It's almost a full-time job for a parent to help their kids.
The Lengquists provided me a detailed timeline of their attempts to get their daughter help. In the course of 2 years, they say they experienced it all. Denied treatment, no communication, no beds, no exit interviews, hours-long drives, and astronomical fees. One of their options was $50 grand a month.
There needs to be an awakening in this country that mental health care should be a priority.
Where does reforming mental health care rank on your priority list?
It's very high on my priority list.
Governor Laura Kelly ran on a platform of reforming mental health care in Kansas. I took the Lengquist story to her to see what's being done. The governor says Kansas cut beds from 700 to 300 around 2012.
It wasn't enough, and we're suffering from that. We are systematically working to bring more beds online now.
There are now only 15.5 beds for every 100,000 Kansans. There should be at least 40. The Lengquists say that leads to short stays.
Time to go home, because we really need your bed.
What do you say to those families that are fighting to get their loved one into a facility?
Well, I tell them I'm working on it.
During Emma's final treatment, Marie says she was released after just 3 days.
And I begged them not to.
4 days after that, Emma was gone.
How often after this do you think of if only they kept her?
Often.
Do you believe the state failed them?
I don't know the specifics of that situation, so I can't say yes or no. But I do know that generically, we are not providing the quantity or quality of services that we need to, so that people can access them when they need them.
Unlike the governor, Stormont in Topeka does know the specifics of Emma's case. It's the treatment facility that released her. This week, Stormont declined my request for an on-camera interview, so I emailed the facility numerous questions, some of which, how many beds do you have available? How many patients can be admitted? Do you have plans to add beds? How long is the average wait? And do you believe you have enough to meet patient needs? Today, Stormont told me it would not be able to answer these questions by our deadline. Stormont's not alone. So many hospitals are lacking space. Most keep patients for about 72 hours, right on par with Emma's. 38% of people across the country have to wait a week or more for help. Do you think that does result in families getting to a point where their loved one either can't be saved or it's too late?
It certainly does contribute to the problem. You know, a lot of mental health issues are crisis. You know, they sort of come up on you by surprise.
The Lengquists say that was Emma's case. Some improvements are being made. KU's Marillac campus just added 80 new beds this year. Before this, they were having to turn away 2,000 mentally ill patients each year. The governor is also working to expand a pilot program to get mental health professionals in schools. There's not enough money to implement it statewide just yet, but that's the eventual hope. The Lengquists know it's too late for Emma.
And here she comes.
But for the thousands of others, they're continuing their fight.
Maybe it will make a difference for one person, and then 2 people, and then 3.
Joe Chiodo, KCTV 5 News. Last week, Stormont denied our request for an on-camera interview. They also couldn't answer our questions via email. But this week, a doctor agreed to talk. The family does not blame the hospital. They say the system is broken nationwide. And the doctor I sat down with says we're at a breaking point.
There's just a lot of psychiatric dysfunction out there.
We're now learning inside Stormont there are 32 inpatient psychiatric beds. In northeast Kansas, that leaves 6 for every 100,000 people. It's recommended there be 40. It's better than some areas of the state, sitting at 0.
There is a problem.
Dr. Eric Voth is Behavioral Health Services Supervisor and VP of Primary Care at Stormont.
It's difficult. It's definitely underserved area.
20-year-old Emma Lenguist had one of his facility's beds in February 2018. She was battling depression and borderline personality disorder.
She was turned away from several places.
Her parents, Chris and Marie, say it was a 2-year runaround to get their daughter help. Do you think there are too many times at this facility and others around the country where it does take too long for somebody to get help and to get a bed?
Well, gosh, everywhere I've ever been or whatever, there have always been places that have had a delay.
After 4 days at Stormont, Emma wanted to leave. Her parents begged doctors to keep her, knowing she wasn't well, but she was over 18.
Did I do enough? Could I have done more?
That same week, she was gone. 4 days after she left here, ended up taking her own life. As somebody who's speaking on behalf of Stormont, what would your message be to that family?
I've dealt with family after family after family who has absolutely done everything they could do and ended up with a tragic situation. And that's one of the difficulties.
Dr. Voth says Stormont's operating efficiently and provides excellent care. So what went wrong after Emma's release? He points to a failure by lawmakers to implement a continuum of care.
Well, for sure, we do need more funds in terms of psychiatric services.
Kansas has seen major mental health cuts. Dr. Voth says the state lacks halfway houses, outpatient beds, and telepsychiatric medicine.
And those things are expensive, and they're not adequately served throughout the country.
This is an increasing situation. It's not decreasing. Every stat shows it.
It left Emma to be sent right back home. But the problem doesn't stop there. Mental health is complicated. With pneumonia or the flu, the symptoms are clear. You get an antibiotic and you get better. But a mental illness is a whole different ballgame. I learned there's often a gray zone, a point along the way where a patient like Emma says they're fine, and they're not. The family may know it, doctors may know it. But unless that patient makes a threat to themselves or somebody else, the hospital's hands are tied. So is that something that will forever remain that way, or do you think lawmakers could also step in and fix somehow that gray zone by doing something?
I do think that can be statutorily helped because, well, the definition, for instance, of imminent threat can be modified.
That would give doctors more control.
Life is precious, and if we can help one person get the help they need.
But it opens up a big debate, invading patients' rights, keeping them in a bed they say they don't need or want, when there's often a line out the door.
She was really a special kid.
Joe Chiodo, KCTV 5 News.